Hey everybody, Laura the librarian here. This week we're making paper flowers. Stop by the checkout desk to get your very own PaperCraft kit, which has all the supplies you need to make 2 different kinds of flowers. Or call ahead and we'll set it aside with your curbside holds. You will need scissors, glue, tape, and a pencil. Have fun! So what's in the baggie? All right, let's look. Instruction sheets, 2 green bits, 3 big flowers of one color, 2 smaller flowers of another color, a scallop guy and 2 spider guys, and a strip, all in the same color, and then a big circle, plus a stick and 2 stems, 2 floral wire stems. It's been a while since I made these, so I am going to use the instructions. So the spiral flower is the simplest one. We need the big circle, one of the green guys, and one of the stems. So we're going to move all the rest of this stuff off to the side. This is also a project that you could make at home if you have any kind of paper you can cut into a circle. And anything bendable and stick-like, piece of wire, pipe cleaner. A stick is helpful when you want to manipulate the paper, curl it. So you could do that with a pencil as well if you don't have a stick. We got a big circle. We want to cut it into a spiral shape. If it's helpful for you, you can draw it first with your pencil. But what's important is that it has sort of a circle-ish bit. So you don't want to cut too close to the middle. So yeah, I'm going to stop about there because then I still have a nice bit that's going to become the base of my flower. And now I like to kind of tidy up anything that kind of looks squarish, just because it's going to look a little tidier when we roll it up. Popsicle stick. You're going to start on the outside. It's the outermost bit of your spiral. And also this is what's going to end up being the inside. This part will end up being the outside. So it's up to you. I think most of the papers that I provided are double-sided, so you can choose which side. You ever curl curling ribbon with like a scissor or something like that? That's pretty much what I'm doing, is I'm just helping it curl by pressing the stick along it. And I'm basically going to just help it curl before I put it together. I'm gonna pre-curl it, if you will. So now that we've got it curled, we want to go back to this very outside most piece. That's going to become the middle. So we want that to be small, and then we want to just keep rolling it up. This is why pre-curling it helps, because then you don't have to fight with the paper. And you want to kind of make sure that you're keeping it all along this inside curve, if you will. And you want to make sure that your coil is staying nice and tight this way, packed together instead of coming apart. All right, so we've got this nice little base. I'm going to kind of just fold it up a little bit now that we're at the end of the curve. And then we're going to, oh wow. I guess I put it together pretty tightly. So you can kind of unroll it a little bit by hand. What you're doing is just kind of opening up that spiral, getting it to create this kind of open rose shape. I did it very tightly. It's all right. You can easily just unswirl a little bit. Because yeah, I mean, you want it to sit on the little base that you created, this little centerpiece. So you want it to be wide enough to look good on there, but not so wide that it would fall off of that piece. All right. So once you're kind of happy with how it unrolled and how it looks in comparison to the size of your base, you can also trim your base a little bit. Oh yeah, I like that better already. All right, so then you need your white glue. You're going to put a fair amount on that round base at the bottom that you created, and then you're going to stick the flat end of your spiral to that base. And you can use your stick in the middle to hold it down, and your hand on the outside to hold it down. And with white glue, as always, you want to hold it where you want it to dry for just a little bit so that it gets sticky enough to stay. I'm going to set this aside while the glue dries. So the stem process is right here on the instructions, stem. You can do both stems the same way. Pretty easy. Take your little leaf bit and you want to poke your wire through about the middle. Poof! All right. Oh, hello. And then at the very end, you just want to fold it a little bit, little right angle. You'll want to bring the leaf back up to that little flat piece that you've created. And that is what you're going to tape down. I like to use masking or washi tape because we're going to put glue on top of it. And glue does not stick very well to something like a scotch, a clear tape. You do want this piece of tape to be pretty small so you can rip or cut it just enough to get the folded bit of wire attached to the green leafy part. So you can see how it's long, it's got kind of a flat piece at the top, just like that. This is why you really want your piece to be dry before you attach it to the stem, because what we're going to do is flip it over. We're going to put glue on the base, and we're going to put the flat green part, the taped part, into that glue. And this you're definitely going to have to hold for a couple minutes. It's going to be dangerous for me to show you what it looks like because it needs to stay in that position to dry, but that's kind of how it ends up. Just like that guy. To dry, we want to keep this in the upside down position. You can lean it up against something. That can help so you don't have to hold it. Now, the stack shaped flower is a little more involved. And I pre-cut the shapes for you, but if you did want to do this at home and you don't have the pre-cut shapes, you can see all you need are 3 relatively similar large flowers, 2 relatively similar small flowers. This part is the part that you might improvise on a little bit, but as long as you have a strip, you should be good. There are lots of parts to this project, and you do have to let stuff dry a little bit in between. So we're going to start with our big flowers. Use your popsicle stick again to kind of curl the petals. Now it's pretty easy here for it to kind of get like a folded look because the stick has a flat edge. That's fine. You can kind of work it out, or you can use your pencil, kind of do a little rolling action. And then you'll repeat that for your other shapes, similar shapes. Now, what you're going to do is layer these 3 flowers together. This one's the most open, and this one's the most closed. So I think I'll put this one on the base, and this one on top of it, and then this one on the tippy top. We're rotating them a little bit so that they don't sit exactly on top of one another in terms of the shape. You can play around with that. So, little dab of glue. Put this shape on top. I'll hold that down with my stick just for a moment. Add a little more glue. Let's do that. I think that looks good. Again, you can hold that down with your finger or your stick or your pencil. There's the first piece. Let's set that aside. So we're going to do something similar with these 2 shapes, but we're going to try to make it a little more vertical, a little less flat. So we kind of want to do like a U shape, first of all. So we want to bring all the flowers, all the leaves up, all the petals up. You can use your stick to help with that. That curled up, and then we want to curl it out just a little bit too at the tippy tip of the petal. It's like a little fluted cup Look at that, so cute. We're gonna do that again. So you've got 2 of those, and again, you want to stack these, layer them, and rotate them so they're not right on top of each other. I think this one looks nicer, so it's gonna go on the top. For this one, I do love the pencil eraser. It's nice and round. It helps it keep that cup shape. And then again, we'll set this piece aside. Here comes the part that's maybe a little bit more complicated, but I think everyone can handle it. You can do this with your hands. I think it's a lot easier than trying to handle the little pieces with the stick. They can tear off, that's fine. Not every flower in the wild looks perfect. So we want to white side down, just lift up all of those little bits. Same with the other one. So these 2, again, are going to be stacked like we did before, and this is the base. So this can stay flat. You can see it's very easy for these little petals to fall back down. That's totally fine because you can just clump them back up with your finger. We're going to use that again in just a moment, so I'll set it aside but not too far away. Next thing, you need your strip. We're going to fold it in half so that we've got color on both sides. Ta-da. Got fold. This is the folded edge, this is the open edge, and you want to work with the folded edge. You're going to use your scissor to cut it into fringe. Don't go too far down, maybe about halfway. Now you can take your stick to help you. Try to keep it closer to the open edge instead of the folded edge so that you don't wreck your fringe. And you're going to use this to help you roll it up. And then I can use my hands to really coil it up. The hardest part is always getting the center going. And this, we want this to be tight, 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 a tight coil. And just the nature of paper, it will kind of buckle a little bit when you're rolling it. That's okay, just press it down and keep going. Keeping our bottom nice and tight. With about a ½ inch left, just take your white glue. Oh, that was a lot. Use your white glue, put a little bit on, again, the part that's not fringed, and then finish rolling it up. And then use your fingers to hold it. You might have to hold this one for a bit to get that spiral to stay. Can you guess where that's gonna go? That's gonna go in the center of our little pink crown. Yours might not be pink. All right, so that's the raw side. That's the fringe side. We want to put the raw side right down on that glue into the center of your little crown shape. All right, I'm going to hold that down with my finger for a minute. You guys, this is called the stacked shape flower, so I think based on what we've done so far, you can tell what's next. Let's stack them. All right. And don't worry if some of your petals get a little droopy while you're pressing and gluing, because we can always brighten them up later. And that's really going to have to dry quite a bit before we attach the stem. So what we'll do when it's dry is just glue, a little glue there, glue it on like that. And again, you'll want to do this upside down. It's too hard for it to dry like this. It'll just fall apart. And then once everything is glued together and dry, you can come back in with your fingers to raise your little inner petals. You can pick up these middle bits a little bit, fluff up the sides, and my favorite part, fluff out the fringe. Do that with your fingernails.